The U.S. just tied with Ecuador, 1-1. And for everybody that listened to the preview show, there are two people out of the three here on the show that got that scoreline correct. I said 1-1. Tone said 1-1. We are absolute geniuses over here. Chuck, though, went with his heart. He said 2-1 U.S. And listen, there are plenty of opportunities for that to happen. But let's get into instant reactions. And my first reaction, and Tones, I'm going to come to you first, but my first reaction is that we went back to a back three. That was the big question coming into this game. Would he revert back to a back four, which is what he knows, Mauricio Pochettino, or would he go with a back three and kind of continue the momentum we built playing against Japan in our 2-0 win? He went with a back three, a little modified. Tim Weah on the right side, Max Arfson on the left. And we'll get into the lineup in a second here. But what was your instant reaction of how we played in this game, Tones?
Yeah, I like the attitude. I like the intent to get forward. First 20 minutes of the game were really, really sharp. They were good. I think what we're starting to see is a bunch of guys, and before we get into individuals, I'm just talking about guys that are playing all the time that are confident. A Tillman, a Tessman, a Chris Richards, like guys that are playing week in and week out. A Flo Balogun now. Where they just look confident on the ball. Like, it doesn't look like a struggle when the ball gets to your feet. It doesn't look like they're panicking at all. Connecting passes, like, it just looks a little bit sharper. Obviously, we'll get into moments in the game and how you manage those moments and all of that. But, I mean, we more than doubled the number of passes that Ecuador had tonight that were completed. So, really, I really like I like where we're going right now. I'm taking 20 minutes, yeah. 20 minutes from South Korea. Japan was an improvement. This one for me was an even bigger improvement.
Yeah, and you say 20 minutes. It's funny you're talking about the South Korea game. I actually really love the first 20 minutes of this game that we played, and then we gave up the goal, which took a little bit of the air out of it, Chuck. But let me get into the starting 11, and then I want to get your thoughts overall. The starting 11, bit of a surprise. We had a couple injuries. So Jedi Robinson, not 100%, didn't even come off the bench in this one, didn't start. Christian Pulisic, a little bit of an ankle injury or a flare-up with his ankle, ended up coming off the bench. We'll talk about him in a little bit. But the starting 11 was Matt Freese in goal, Miles Robinson getting the start. I think we all thought that maybe Mark McKenzie would do it if we elected to go to a back three. So Miles Robinson gets the start. Chris Richards in the middle, Tim Ream on the left. Then Tim Weah playing right wing back. Max Arfson at the left wing back, Tanner Tessman and Aiden Morris holding it down as the sixes, Weston McKennie and Malik Tillman as the 2 10s. Obviously, they could drift out wide if it made sense, but mainly the width was coming from Weah and Arfson. And then Flo Balogun up top. Okay, so now that I've said all that, I thought that first 20 minutes, Chuck, we were good. And just the movement, I wrote it down in our notes. You and I were talking about it during our watch-along. The fluidity of how we were moving, the rotations, all of it looked really good. And obviously, as I said, the goal kind of took our air out of us a little bit. But that first 15, 20 minutes, to Tony's point, really, really promising. They're like, yeah, we are moving in the right direction, and that feels good.
Yeah, I think for me, it was the intensity of the play, the tempo, but more importantly, the passing and the intent to play forward. Because how many times have we seen the U.S. play competition that's as rated as higher or equal and play the safe or play negative balls, right? This was play forward regardless. If someone's on their back, still play forward. And we saw that. I think what stands out to me, though, is Balogun. And I said it after the last game.
Excellent.
He is our number 9. There's no questions about it. When he's fit, he's healthy, and he's playing, he's our number 9. One, I love that he's active. He's intelligent with his runs. He's decisive. For me, anytime you're an attacking player, the area to try things is the final third. You have the license to play with freedom and be creative, be spontaneous. He is that. And I love that he has this knack for being direct towards goal. It's not just I'm going to be free and be 1v1 and kind of flow. It's I got to get to goal as quick as I can. I love that. You could see in the first couple of chances, he took it with his left foot, got into space. And then on the one that almost came off, but he faked with the left to cut back to his right, and the ball just went a little bit further. But he set it up perfectly. And I think ideally it would have been a shot, but he could have also laid it off. For me, it's the way that this team put pressure on Ecuador, the reactions. I always look when I'm dictating games and calling games. I look at a number of things, and for me, it's like the shape, the pressure, the cover. Are they organized? What are the ideas, the movement, and then reactions? Are they threatening? The U.S. were better than Ecuador and every attacking metric. I think from just the eye test, you have to be pleased that this is progress that we wanted to see. Of course, it's not a win, but for me, it still feels like a win because they are getting better. We're progressing.
And to piggyback off of that, we created a lot of good moments and sequences where we were in good areas against a very good defensive team. And for everybody that didn't join us for the watch along, and we highly encourage it for Tuesday against Australia on the Golazo America YouTube channel. So hit like and subscribe and turn on notifications. You guys know the deal. I thought we did. So listen, let me say it like this. Ecuador, 18 games in World Cup qualifying, only gave up 5 goals. Ridiculous. Okay. Coming into this game, 11 games unbeaten, 10 clean sheets out of those 11. And then they had 5 straight clean sheets coming into this. I mean, this is a team that has a strong defensive identity. And I thought we were asking a lot of questions. And probably deserved to score more than 1 goal. And I'm glad that we got the goal, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Going back to Balogun, though, because I wanted to give some context for those that didn't get to watch the game or catching up to it later. I thought Flo Balogun, and we discussed this, man of the match for sure. And maybe the best player or best performance I've seen from him, Tones, in terms of consistency. Just all the little things that he was doing. And thankfully, he got rewarded with a good goal, putting himself in a good spot, holding off a very good defender in Pacho to get there in front of it and to tap it in. Lots of just good, solid decisions, very consistent, and just dangerous and threatening, to Chuck's point. I love this version of Flo. I mean, this guy looked sharp. He looked healthy. He looked ready to go. And it makes such a difference for the rest of the team when you know you have someone like him that's so dynamic up top.
Well, he set the tone right early in the game. He had the first one where he dribbled down the left-hand side, and he saw the one defender, right? He was out there with Alcivar, right? And the one guy that we thought, okay, he's the guy you got to go after, and he went after that guy. And then there was the give and go in the 9th minute, right, with Tillman, and again running in behind, and he set the tone of how he wanted to play the game. I'm struggling to remember. You asked I think at halftime if I've seen a better, more consistent performance from him, and I can't remember one. That was for me the fullest performance, and I'm happy he was the guy who got the goal because I really thought he deserved it.
Yeah, it was impressive. Now, Chuck, let's go down a line. Let's talk Tillman. Actually, I thought his combination play was very good. He's always looking to be a wall, for lack of a better description, right? Where you can play it and he'll give it back to you, or he's finding that third person. He's got a nice knack for that. And that final pass, he's got that. And the weight of his passes were very good. I thought he was really dangerous tonight. Probably second on our man of the match chart, all things considered. And didn't matter where you played him. He found a way to have an impact or influence on our attacks consistently. And I thought that was really promising from him. And I was sad that Christian only came on with 20 minutes left because I kind of wanted to see that Balogun, Tillman, and Pulisic combo really start to kick.
Well, I think one thing that you see when you watch Tillman play is how he makes everything look so easy. He can glide around the pitch. He's very intentional with his positioning. And whether it's a slight turn this way or this way, it's easier for him to let the ball roll off his foot into the path of you to play a 1-2. That's why it makes it look so easy. You can play off to him, and he's always got the ability to cushion that first touch, so the pass is right back to you. I love the fact that he is someone you can count on to be a game changer or a facilitator, a goal scorer. He's got a great touch on his distribution, but also he can smash a shot. So his passing is phenomenal. He can play through the lines. I think he was really impressive tonight. And we already saw Pochettino had him for a month under Gold Cup and raved about him. It seems to me this Bayer Leverkusen move is only going to help him playing in the Bundesliga every week. So I think when we start looking at individuals, I'm at the point now where I'm ready to say that there's no way Tillman isn't starting game 1 in the World Cup, as long as, of course, he's healthy and he's playing at Leverkusen.
Okay, so before we get into any other player names, Tones, so you have Balogun arguably having his best performance and most consistent performance of the red, white, and blue. You got Tillman, who could be in the same conversation. I thought Tessman was very good, right? You have a lot of guys that were really good, maybe 7 or 8 out of 10, right? We talk about that a lot, or we like to, especially when we're reviewing games. How many of our guys played 7 or 8 out of 10? And I would say tonight we had a lot of those guys. So would you, keeping that in mind, would you consider this Mauricio Pochettino's best game in charge, knowing kind of what we knew about the past and the build up to this moment, and now him allowing a back three to continue to flourish, even though I think there was some moments of sprinkling in a back four when it was needed, which is what he's, more a fan of historically through his career. But I'm leaning towards yes, but I wanted to get your thoughts.
Well, you put a qualifier on it, right? So,
that's what I do.
Yeah, you put it,
Maybe qualifier Conrad.
Right.
Qualifying cream cheese. Let's go.
Knowing what they've been through recently, no doubt about it. Does it just best game in general? I still go to game 2 of the Jamaica Nations League in the quarterfinals.
That still gave up 2 late goals in that game, though, right? I mean,
right, but you're talking about a completely different level of team here. So I would lean towards yes, and I just take the qualifier out because that just makes it too easy. And then it throws every game out. But yeah, best game. But I think he's doing it with confident players. I mean, we talked about this for so long, bringing guys in who aren't playing minutes. And now we're starting to get away from that. We got guys that are playing at their club teams, and it's so important. Would an Aiden Morris even be able to compete? I mean, Tanner Tessman tonight looked like a different player than we've seen in the past. Just nothing. Didn't give the ball away. I think he completed 91% of his passes. Just looks a confident player, and that the only way you get to that is if you're playing week in and week out.
Yeah. And Chuck, what do you think? I want your thoughts. I want to hear Chuck, Chase, and Chuck. Tell us about this. Is this Pochettino's best performance?
Yes, it is, because this is the best team that we've played. And remember, of course, this is as close to as full strength as Ecuador can be without Moises Caicedo and Nkapie, because Moises Caicedo is an absolute beast and a game changer. And obviously, we don't have Tyler Adams here either, who is kind of like our Moises Caicedo in the way that he covers ground and is a tough tackler in midfield. But ultimately, with the pressure on this group as we're getting closer to the World Cup, and the intensity is starting to pick up because now everyone's trying to play for World Cup places, not just with us, but the same thing in this Ecuador team. If the place isn't already solidified in the group, they're pushing for more minutes or a starting spot. And so I think we learned a lot. One, I think this group learned a lot, that you might be the better team on the night. You might have more possession and create more or be in more dangerous spots. But all it takes is one turnover and one direct pass, and you're down 1-0. And that's exactly what happened with Ener Valencia tonight. But this is the best performance we've seen in terms of rotations and movements and Balogun. I think when you have a number 9 that can keep the ball, when you're under pressure and you need an outlet and you can play to your center forward, when he has a center back on him coming to put pressure and keep it and find the next guy, that gives the team so much confidence. And it also puts something in the back of the mind of the Ecuador players to say, oh, damn, we can't throw numbers forward, because they'll find that center forward, he'll keep it, and then they're out on the break. So it does so much for a team in terms of relieving pressure and giving the sense of calmness on the ball. And I think when he set the tone tonight by keeping the ball and making good runs, also, if Ecuador wants to play high and you play in the behind, he's showing his pace, guess what? They know they can't play as high as they'd like to at times. So that's another facet of the team when you have a striker who's really feeling himself and can do it. So I think that's why we saw this being Pochettino's best game, is because not only was it fluid in possession, but he had a number 9 who could stretch the opponent and give a little bit more space in the attack.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for every line of the field had something going for it, right? I've seen some comments here in the chat about we played well out of the back. And what I liked seeing as well is that there were moments where all of a sudden Miles Robinson was up high, and then Aiden Morris would drop in and be even with the back with Tim Ream and Chris Richards to help us build out. Because when Miles Robinson took that step forward or went forward, it drew a defender with him. And then Aiden Morris could just fill that pocket. And all of a sudden, we unlocked Ecuador's press. And for anybody that didn't watch the game, Ecuador was flying at us for the first 10 minutes. I mean, they were high pressing all over the field. And
they were testing. They were probing the test and saying, hey, can they handle it?
Exactly right. And we ended up figuring it out. And as the game slowed down, I thought we even had, and to Tones' point about the stats, we had double the passes, right? We found a way to establish a rhythm in the game against a very good opponent. And so I really appreciated the setup and the build out in different phases of the game, whether it's coming off a goal kick, even though there were some nervy moments, even our defensive third, mid block, and even up high. There was a lot to be excited about. I saw a comment from Ja who says, hey guys, we drew, even though this was our best performance in a while. So there was a caveat there. But yeah, we did draw. But even if we had lost this game 1-0, I still saw enough there that felt really promising from formation, from the rotations.
Yeah, but the goal really adds something, like you said.
100%,
it's a team that doesn't
100%.
Concede,
right?
And we finally scored, right? I think that's what makes the difference.
And also this is a proper. Yeah. Thank you, Tones. The opportunities. And one more thing I want to add is that this is a proper World Cup opponent. I liken that more to Switzerland and Turkey, where we got run off the field for the majority of both of those games. Now we're taking on an Ecuador team, and we look like we were there, and in some ways driving the game in a lot of different ways. And we created enough opportunities that I was like, all right, we're heading in the right direction. The focus was there. It felt more anticipatory than reactive. I mean, all these kind of intangible things that we've been wanting to see, that we've been expecting to see, we're all there on full display, and we looked as confident as I think we've ever seen us individually and collectively, Tones. But yeah, go ahead.
How about if we just frame it like this? You mentioned Turkey game, so I'll throw in the Switzerland game. At any point in those games, did we look to equal to either of those teams? Tonight, we looked equal to the team that finished second in CONMEBOL. Now, we can say it's a friendly, but those were also friendlies, Switzerland
right.
And Turkey. Like tonight,
I'd say we look better than Ecuador.
I thought we looked better than Ecuador.
Tonight, I watched the game, and we could have lost, but I felt like tonight we were winning a game somehow once the game started, right? And okay, it didn't happen. We drew, but I felt like we were every bit of who Ecuador was tonight. I don't know how you couldn't feel that way if you watched that game.
Yeah.
And this is a great comment from Iz, because they're saying Brazil put 5 past South Korea today, and they pooped on us. So there is that. Well, this is the thing with Brazil. And I think Tony would be the first one to say Ancelotti didn't lack talent coming into that Brazilian job. It was never about talent with Brazil. It was about getting the right group of players and getting them motivated and coaching them, and the man management part, and understanding how to get the most out of a lot of guys who are so good attacking, but were they going to give that same effort defensively? And today it clicked.
Yeah.
And when you have 5 world-class attacking players, eventually, if you get it to click, it's going to look really good. And that's exactly what happened. So,
it clicked with that group? No way.
Yeah, when you get a Brazil to put 5 on you, that's what they can do when they're at their best. The thing is, they haven't been at their best. So, of course, if Ancelotti can use this as the turning point, and all of a sudden they're thriving, then they become a different opponent altogether in the World Cup. But again, this is a process. We knew it was going to be a process. I probably didn't anticipate it to take this long for Pochettino to understand the group and what formations and tactics he was going to implement and start to see it come together.
One thing I'll add to what Charlie said, and then we're going to go to our first break of the post-game show, is that we played this well without Christian Pulisic on the field for the first 70 minutes. And that is a sign of a healthy team that doesn't have to be overly reliant on our best player to have to show up and perform for us to have success. And I think that is another reason to be excited about how we performed and what the future is looking like under Mauricio Pochettino. So another performance I want to talk about is Weston McKennie. So back in the team for the first time since March in the Nations League. And he said after the game that I like the position I'm at now under Pochettino. And that is with regard to his position, which is a little bit higher up the field. and that he has the freedom to push forward. Chuck, I'll come to you first on this because you got cut off so rudely by the internet earlier. What were your thoughts on Weston, where he set up for the team, and he ended up having a really good pass at the end of the first half from a deeper position, which is where we feel like he looks most comfortable. But hey, getting on the field is still important when you're trying to fight for your place.
I tend to go along where what Chuck started with. I think when you look at Weston McKennie right here in this position, we've always spoken about the midfield, the two in the midfield, as being the crowded spot of the field. Well, it's getting more crowded because now you're definitely going to throw Tessman into the mix, right? Aiden Morris was okay tonight, but remember, we got Tyler Adams there as well. And then see what Roldan does. I think where Weston played tonight, right? You're going to have Christian there. Are you going to put Tillman on the bench? We still haven't seen Zendejas, so I thought tonight would have been a really good game for Zendejas. Like, it played at his tempo, man, and he would have been really good. I just think there's equally as much competition for Weston in this position as there was going into the other.
I'd say there's more, Tony. I'd say there's more in the attacking because, and this is what I would explain to Weston if I am Pochettino. You can still get forward if you're playing next to Tyler Adams. There's nothing saying that preventing you. We saw Tessman making runs into the channel. Like there's nothing preventing you with the game, the way that we're free flowing and moving the ball, to make late runs out of midfield, which makes it even tougher to track. The deeper you are, and when you make those advanced runs, it's more beneficial for a player like Weston McKennie to make that run and get on the end of things. So I think, unfortunately, I know he likes to play higher, but the starting position, I think, is going to have to be deeper within this team, especially if you're talking about, this is Ecuador. And Ecuador is a fantastic team, but they're not an attacking team. They're a defensively sound team, and they counter, and they're effective. But when we're playing against even better teams, we're going to need more defensive support, which means we need a little bit more attacking threats that are more geared to like one chance, one goal. And Weston's not that player. Weston's a great player on set pieces, great in the air, a tough tackler. We see him do it with Juve all the time, especially in transition. He can get back. He can cover a lot of ground. And I think that's where the U.S. need him in a more deeper role. Now, he doesn't have to sit there and be a number 6, but I think from a starting position, that'll just be beneficial.
Do you think he starts, though? Do you think, let's say, because if Pulisic comes in, as he will, Tillman for me is undroppable at the moment, right? I think it's Tillman and Pulisic. So you have the 2 6s at this point. If
we're playing a back 3 and with the 2 10s, Tillman and I think Tillman, Pulisic, and Balogun are locks. Absolute locks.
They're cooking. Those 3 are cooking. Like
done. Locked. Okay. Lock them up.
Lock them up.
And keep them in a bubble. Need them healthy. So locked up bubble. That's it. Okay. That's your starting front 3.
I love that.
Now now
you're right.
I think you both can agree on this though. Timothy Weah didn't look as sharp, as dynamic, as comfortable as when he's asked to defend. Like it's a little bit more of hesitancy to run forward and get, stay high and keep the width. And that's where I think Sergiño Dest thrives in that, where he's more comfortable and he finds a way to get more involved in the attacking side of the ball. But defensively, he's done it in the World Cup. I know he can defend, but maybe that's where Pochettino's unsure of, okay, who's going to give me a better defensive performance out of that position?
Yeah, it's a big question. And again, it could be situational, to your point. If you have a team like Ecuador that's going to sit a little bit, then maybe you can risk one of the 6s being a little bit more adventurous, like we saw from Tessman a little bit tonight. And if Weston did play off the shoulder, we assume it's going to be Tyler Adams, then that would make sense. But if you have a team that's going to be coming at you and you need someone that's going to be a little bit more steady defensively that can sit in front of that back 3 and have 2 proper 6s, then maybe somebody else gets the choice who has the opportunity to go forward and can spray the ball. and maybe make those line breaking passes from advantageous central positions, I should say.
Jim, we've long said, right, if we're going to play with 3 in the back, one guy in the midfield has to be sacrificed.
And it could be Weston.
And it just may be Weston in this case. And it might be a rotation of those guys. I find it hard to believe they're going to go back and go, yeah, Tanner Tessman didn't play well tonight. Like,
yeah, right.
Like they want to, you're not moving him, right, at the moment. And again, we keep going on this thing about Tyler's the other guy. Just the numbers, it's somewhere on the field, the numbers don't add up, right?
Yeah.
Where somebody's got to sit on the bench, right?
And we haven't even talked about Cardoso if he's playing at Atletico Madrid every week.
Yeah.
Right. So and to be fair, Cardoso hasn't done it for the U.S. men's national team either. So that's another part of it. But that doesn't mean he couldn't, right? It doesn't mean he's had opportunity after opportunity, and all of a sudden he's given an opportunity in March and it works. And then what? Especially if he's playing. And these are all ifs. And I'd love to be in a position that we have a Yunus Musa playing every day, every match at Atalanta. We have a Cardoso playing every match at Atletico Madrid. And you come in to the summer camp and you're saying, I don't know who the hell I'm playing right now. So everyone's in form. I got to go with what's the best fit for the team, who works well together. And that's also Pochettino's main job is getting those puzzle pieces, the right puzzle pieces together.
Now, Shane George has a good comment here.
Right?
Yeah, this team all of a sudden has some incredible depth at multiple spots. I mean, there is a universe, Tones, where if Tillman is the guy, right, then that's going to squeeze out somebody, when we could argue Weston. If Tessman starts to play at a level that they're happy with and he fits into Chuck's point, the chemistry, and it all feels good to have him in there, and he's a good partner for Tyler or whatever it is, then Weston's probably squeezed out centrally. Then if you have Des, who's going to be maybe a better fit than at right wing back than McKennie or Musa or Way. You could have, if you would have told me in 2022 that, hey, come 2026, Musa, McKennie, and Way might not start the first game of the World Cup.
Or they're all fighting for one position. And
I'd be like, what are you
right
smoking,
wing back,
dude? What are you? What? No chance. But here we are, and that's a good thing, obviously, to have this much depth.
Yeah, and that's where I was going. Here's the thing: if Pochettino's guy, let's just say for a second that Pochettino's guy is Weston, and no matter what Weston's going to play, we now, I think, would feel comfortable enough that Tanner Tessman can play. Mm-hmm. Where we were in a moment where, gosh, if McKenzie doesn't play, like who fills in for him, right? Like that, we went years in that mode, right? We went 3 or 4 years. Like who is the guy? Who's the next guy? Like, okay, if he is Pochettino's guy, then we have a backup to him. But I watching Tessman and watching his advancement in his game over the last couple months, watching him tonight and how confident to me that he looked. I just find it hard that we're going to see him on the bench.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's move it back to the back line. We haven't really discussed this too much. So we started with Tim Ream on the left and Chris Richards in the middle, who had said in an interview prior to this game that of all the 3 spots in the back 3, that playing in the middle is his least favorite. And then on the right, we had Miles Robinson. This is an area where Tim Ream just turned 38. Chris Richards, not 38, but Miles Robinson getting his first start since the Turkey game, and Mark McKenzie left on the bench. But Mark McKenzie did come on, Chuck, for Tim Ream. So I wonder, and Freeman came on to actually play a little right center back for Miles Robinson. So that was interesting as well. Arfsten, I thought was solid tonight, but when Jedi's healthy, Jedi's going to be in that spot.
Right.
So I don't want to take anything away from Arfsten. But just in terms of the back 3, I feel like now that we've had all the conversations about all these other spots and we're talking about locks and all this, that's an area where it still feels pretty wide open. And I'm kind of curious as to what you saw tonight and if that answered any questions for you.
Yeah, I think we're all at the point after watching Tim Ream, you know how good he is on the ball. That's never been a question. He's probably the best ball playing center back that I've seen with the U.S.
He's very good.
I period. I'm not just saying just now this group. I think period. He is that class on the ball. His IQ is extremely high. But we're at the stage where time is working against him. I mean, the schedule in MLS is working against him. So it's almost like you're waiting for someone to challenge to take that spot from him, and it just when McKenzie's gotten the chance, he hasn't taken it either. He hasn't left you confident to say, okay, he's the guy. Even tonight, he came in. It was like a shaky touch, and then he gave the ball away in that one instance. And I get the nerves part. We've all been there, but at a certain point, it's my guy. It's almost like you got to be mistake free when you're coming in if you're trying to take someone's position. And unfortunately, I think Chris Richards is the only player you can say, I know I'm good with him. I know what we're getting. We just don't know what the right and left looks like at the moment in a back three.
Yeah. And that, and Mauricio Pochettino being a former center back, has to be concerned a little bit, Tones.
I don't know about you, but I'm starting to concede that Tim Ream is going to start at the World Cup.
It's hard to argue otherwise because nobody's pushed him out. Nobody's pushed him out.
Not yet. I mean, do you see Noah Kai Banks? He gets his first goal in the Bundesliga. Do you see him like continuing to play, developing this year, and say, "Oh, there's a guy, another guy that we're not talking about now," and it might be too soon, but like you're watching these U20s right now, you know. Do you foresee a U20 guy cracking into a camp and then maybe making his way into the first team?
Schwinder would be the guy, right? But I mean, he's at Benfica not playing, although he is on the Champions League roster. That would be the guy.
Winder is super talented, and they love him at Benfica.
But I would think you'd automatically have to, if you're going to go that route for me, I think you automatically put Noah Kai Banks in because he's playing now. We'll see what happens. He started his first game. He scored a goal. But if he's playing first team football in the Bundesliga, like I think he jumps ahead of Josh Winder just because he's not playing first team football, right?
The more we talk about it, the more I think Ream's he'll end up starting for us.
Yeah, I do too because he's still ahead of whoever's going to play right center back. Because right now we got makeshift right backs playing right center back in a back three. And think about it, they went to the point of saying, you know what?
What?
I thought he was messing. I thought he was messing with us. I thought he was doing the Chuck.
Say it, Chuck. Spit it out.
Get it off your chest.
I am
every time.
Alex Freeman. You know your guy. Alex Freeman playing right center back. We had Joe Scally playing right center back. You know, I just think that Tim Ream is still number 2, and he's still ahead of whoever the right center backs could be.
Yeah, that's a concern. That's a concern. All right, let's throw it over to our resident goalkeeper, Tony Meola. Matt Freese tonight. Did he obviously got the start over Matt Turner and everybody else in camp? He's the clear number 1 for you?
I think so. I don't see it going right now any other way. I mean, you can't blame him on the goal. There wasn't much else to do. They do feel confident with him building out of the back because that's what we've seen. So they feel confident in really tight areas, putting him under that much pressure. So, I mean, I tend to think it's sometimes a little bit overkill, but you know, this is not our team to build. I would utilize his ability to go long a little bit more and open up the game. But I would say that if Matt Turner was in goal as well. But yeah, there's nothing that's changing that for me right now.
We have all this information from this game against Ecuador. A very, very good performance and a 1-1 draw against a very good team. What do we want to see now heading into the Australia game? That's, for me, the big conversation to have here. A little bit of a preview going into that. We're going to have another live watch along on Tuesday for that game against the Socceroos, and it should be a lot of fun. The Socceroos, Australia, beat Canada today 1-0, so they'll be coming in with some confidence. But, Tones, I'm coming to you first. Now that you've seen what we've seen, I don't know if there's a lineup change. I assume Pulisic will start, so there's one that we could dive into. But is there anything else you want to see going in, or is it just full steam ahead. We found something that's cooking, and let's keep cooking the same stuff. The ingredients are pretty good.
Well, coming into this thing, I said this kind of looks like a World Cup, right? These are two potential teams. So I'd look at it myself as, okay, match day 1 of the World Cup, we drew Ecuador, right? If I see Australia in the World Cup on and I don't mean any disrespect to their team, but if I see Australia on my schedule as the second game of the World Cup, I can only be thinking of one thing, right? And that's to pick up 3 points. So go find a way to win the game. I mean, these are really, really good tests right now for the U.S. It's going to be a different style. It's probably going to be a team that sits back. They conceded a lot of shots to Canada tonight. They were outshot. What we did this.
They only had one shot on goal. And
one shot on goal was 12-1 or something like that. It was something to 1, right? And they end up winning. That's the thing you have to avoid. You have to avoid a game like that at the World Cup where you crush a team and you don't get a result, because then your tournament is over, right? So find a way to get 3 points. You should have the ball, be efficient, play at the same speed that you played tonight.
Yeah, we didn't talk about tempo. The tempo tonight was excellent. Really good. One
of the better ones. So
100%.
So that's what I would look for, Jimmy. I would look for getting a result, and that essentially puts you in the next round of a World Cup, right? After 2 games.
Now, just to throw it out there, it's been reported that Alex Sendejas is leaving camp with a minor knee injury, so he will not be available for the Australia game, which is a shame because obviously he had a very good game against Japan. Mm-hmm. Chuck. So we heard a little bit about kind of formation and tactics from Tones. Is there any players that Pulisic obviously will be coming into the team, I assume? I'm hoping we get a little Jedi love. I'd love to see Jedi in this kind of new formation, which I think can really help him get forward with more consistency. Anybody else? You see Weston a little bit deeper? I'm kind of curious what you want to see in the Australia game.
Yeah, I think for me it would be just being more clean in the attacking third. It's not necessarily a player that I want to see stand out, because you also have to imagine a player like Balogun, who I'd love to see again and see him play most of the minutes. He's got a new manager. They just sacked his coach, Adi Hütter, in Monaco. And so he's kind of got to go back fresh. And he's got a lot of work to put in to continue to be, in the mix, if not starting every single match for Monaco. And they're playing Champions League. So now that you're starting to think about that in the second game, hey, guys that played a lot in this one, they're probably not going to play as much in the second game, because you want them to go back fresh. You don't want them getting injured in their first game back with their club. So for me, it's like just be cleaner in the final third. And if we should beat Australia. And I think that's what's really going to be important, to continue the way we've seen them play against Japan and now Ecuador. Same type of intensity, the same the free-flowing movement on the ball, but then let's execute and score. Okay.
No, I like that. That's a good shout, because we did get in some good spots, but didn't necessarily finish the attack the way that we would have preferred. Okay. One, I'd like to see Mark McKenzie get the start here and see what that looks like without Tim Ream's influence, let's say, or presence on the field, and see what that looks like. So that would be one. Cameron Carter-Vickers was on the bench, didn't come off the bench. If you're bringing him in, I don't know how he's training, but if you want to give him one last look, this would probably be the time to do it. Other players that didn't play, Ajiman didn't play. Brendan Aronson didn't play. James Sands, would you like to see him get some minutes in the 6th spot? Anybody?
I mean, good run. There's guys ahead of him. I suppose if you brought him into camp, you like something about him, maybe you give him a chance to go.
Okay. And then
he has to start.
Okay, keeping it with you, Tones, as their goalkeeper. Matt Turner gets the nod in this one, or do you keep going with Matt Freese?
I think he continues with Matt Freese.
Okay. So Christian for me starts. We got Diego Luna, Haji Wright, Alex Freeman, and Christian Roldan also came off the bench. Chuck, do you expect any of those guys to start against Australia?
Yeah, I do. I think he makes a number of changes. I don't think he runs back with the same team against Australia. And on top of that, Tony, are you of the mindset that Freese will play every single match from now into the World Cup?
Yeah, and you know what? We have pretty good sample size of Pochettino. How many times have we gone to game 2 and gone, he's going to make 4 or 5 changes, and he rolls out pretty much the same lineup? We have a really good sample size so far With that said, he might shock us, and make a whole bunch of change. But that has not been the case in his camps. So because if Matt Freese was a goalkeeper that had more international experience, maybe I would make a change, like if you had the days of like Friedel and Keller, like you give them one each, right? But Matt Freese still doesn't in his international lifetime, right? He doesn't have a lot of games, so I think each game is really important for him. What was tonight? That was his 10th cap.
10th cap
tonight.
Yeah. No, I like that rationale a lot. That makes a lot of sense. All right. Before we end the show, we want to bring on the Athletics' Paul Tenorio, who is in Austin. He was at the game. He joined us for the watch along for a little while. Paul, welcome. Great to see you.
What's up, guys?
What are you munching on?
No. I'm just biting my fingernails waiting for these players to come out from the mix zone. But I was told, don't worry, Paul, it's going to be a while. These guys, they got to look proper before the flight to Denver. So, and they deserve it. I thought it was a good performance, and so did Mauricio Pochettino in the post-game press conference. He was really, really pleased with the way the team played. He felt like there were so many positives to take out of it. It was really interesting to hear him talk about the formation because, he pushed back on the idea that Tim Weah was a wingback. He said, I don't see him as a wingback in that formation. We built up in a 3. Sometimes we defended in a 4, but it was Miles as the right back in a 4. Tim was a winger, except for at certain moments, Ecuador, the way they played, forced him to play as a wingback sometimes. So, the message was like, look, what we like about this formation is the flexibility it gives us, that we can change depending on if Ecuador is playing in a low block, in a mid block. How they're playing is what we can dictate what Tim Weah is doing. So as long as he had the space, we felt like we gave him an opportunity to attack more. And the other person he talked about of giving the freedom to read the game and play the way that fit the moment was Weston McKennie. And he said, look, that's a guy I want to give the freedom because when we have the ball, he can be very effective pushing into space and attacking, but I also want him to feel free to drop back and find the ball and get on it as well. So,
Paul,
I think, yeah.
I gotta ask you a question now that you said that, because it is one thing to say, hey, Weston, play higher at the pitch. You have the freedom. What does it look like when Christian's there, when Christian's starting? Because you're not taking Tillman off.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where we get into the nuances of the flexibility of this formation, right? He said, look, this was more of the way we played against South Korea than it was the way we played against Japan. I think when Christian comes in, I think you do go to that more traditional kind of 3-4-2-1 where you have two number 10s. And then I do think you have an interesting decision to make of do you play Tillman or do you play Weston? If Weston is that advanced guy for you, or do you tell Weston, okay, we're going to play you a little deeper and it's one of Aiden Morris or Tanner Tessman that comes off, or realistically both of them when Tyler Adams is here. So, this has always been the trade-off of going to this formation is that you have one fewer midfielder on the field because you're putting an extra center back on. And I thought, we talked about it before, like I thought this team was better suited to it and that you could sacrifice a midfielder where Greg was stuck on MMA, right? Musa, McKennie, Adams, they had to stay. With Musa out, I felt like you have flexibility, but the problems are there because Tillman is a guy who you kind of want to keep on the field. So I do think it changes a lot when Christian comes in, but I'm not sure yet who gets yanked. Is it Weah? Does Weah get pulled and McKennie plays out on that right side?
Yeah, there's good problems to have, Paul. So what kind of changes do you expect to see going into Australia? We were talking about it a little bit before you came on.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with what Tony said. He doesn't change a ton all the time, but more than that, the talk in that press conference room was about positivity and optimism and feeling good about the way the team is playing. And so I think when you have those types of vibes, you don't want to change too much, right? Because you want that to carry over. And it sounded like he said, look, we have to see what Christian looks like tomorrow. How does he respond? How does his body respond tomorrow to determine what his role looks like against Australia? Zendejas is flying home tomorrow. He's headed back to America. He's out. So you're starting to get kind of limited options. Anthony Robinson, it sounds like they said we need to evaluate whether or not he can train tomorrow. We're talking about some of these options. maybe not being there. So I would expect fewer changes versus more changes. But I do think he also made sure to note he said, I want to give praise to the guys who didn't get on the field tonight, because I thought they did a really good job of supporting their teammates, working throughout the week. And so I do think he's going to want to reward some of those guys. Maybe it's like a timed halftime sub or a 50th minute, 55th minute type of big change.
All right, Paul Tenorio, everybody, live from Q2 Stadium in Austin, Texas. We appreciate you and all of your insight. It's been fantastic, both now and at the watch along. Paul Tenorio, make sure you check out all of his stuff on The Athletic. We appreciate you, Paul.
Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it. See you guys from Denver.
I can't wait.
All right.
I can't wait. All right, final thoughts for us. We're going to close out the show. Chuck, you look like you're about to fall asleep, as people are mentioning in the chat right now. Chuck looks like he can't keep his eyes open. Give us your final thoughts, Chuck, before you freeze and we have to cut you out.
All right.
I'm loving this guy. Look at him. What a pro.
I know. What a pro. What I'll say is I'm pleased. It's a promising performance. And again, Balogun backs up that he is the starting striker for this U.S. Women's National Team, that he gives the group something different. And it's not only his movement, but his ability to hold the ball as 1v1, and he can score goals. So whether he's trying to bend it outside the box, he gets the nice left-footed at the near post. I'm pumped. And now let's see them carry on this performance with a win against Australia.
All right. Bradley, maybe with the best comment of the day, says sleep chasing, Chuck. We got a new one for you, Chuck. Hey, Big Toe, it's final thoughts.
I can't wait. I can't wait to close my eyes.
I like what I saw in this. I feel better about the number 9 position than I felt for a little while. I will admit. I like our depth, especially in the middle of the field. And my brain, when I look at the lineup we had tonight, my brain goes to Anthony Robinson on the left, Serginho Dest on the right, and Christian Pulisic in this lineup as a starting point. And I'm like, man, I feel like we're starting to build something. That's kind of my where I'm at right now.
You get excited.
I'm going to roll with that. I'm going to roll with what Mauricio Pochettino said after the game. It's about the vibes. The vibes are good right now. The feelings are good right now. Let's keep that going.